Ladies, have you been wanting to make a change, but you don't feel ready? Here's the truth. Readiness is a lie. The model of confidence for women is backward, and we need to flip it. I'm Cara Moeller-Poppitt, author of a new book, Big Freaking Change. After coaching thousands of women, I discovered action gives us confidence, not the other way around. If we wait to feel ready, we'll wait forever. So if you're ready to get unstuck and step into the life you've always dreamed about, visit bigfreakingchange.com right now and order your copy. Welcome to the Big Freaking Change podcast, where we dive deep into the stories of those who took bold action, embraced uncertainty, and transformed their lives without ever feeling ready. I'm your host, Cara Moeller-Poppitt, author of The Big Freaking Change and the creator of the Get Unstuck Cycle of Change model. Each week, we'll sit down with remarkable individuals who have taken bold steps in their lives, personally and professionally, to make meaningful change. Whether you're seeking a career shift, personal growth, or a boost in confidence, our goal is to inspire you to stop waiting and start taking action. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast, Big Freaking Change. I'm your host, Cara Moeller-Poppitt, and I'm delighted to be here today with an amazing speaker, an author, an entrepreneur, a woman that connects on a very deep level, a leader, a mover and shaker, a dancer, and all of the above, a mother, a wife. She's just an inspiring person. So Connie, welcome to our show today.
Thanks for having me, Cara. You are those things.
Well, we love being around each other. We just bring out the best, right? Strong women that have a mission to inspire is pretty amazing to be in the present. So I've always loved connecting with you. Connie, I'm going to read your bio just so everyone knows the brilliance that you bring today. So Connie Jakab is a speaker, author, and CEO of Jakab Co., where she and her husband are not only renovating homes, but renovating relationships. Her background in mental health and resilience and his background in home improvement have come together to restore home. Connie is also the founder, the Bravely Connected Foundation, where she is restoring community and schools back to connection. She is the author of Bring Them Closer series for parents and educators. So welcome, Connie. I met you a long time ago in the dance community, and then I bumped back into you in the speaking community, and now you're renovating homes. And the common thread for me watching your journey unfold is really the heart to serve people, the heart to connect to people. And I mean, your book says it brilliantly, to bring them closer. So tell me about what lights you up, Connie. You have so many passions and contributions to the world.
Well, I definitely would, as you read that, I think that the common thread that I see in all of my career and all of the things that I love doing is really bringing people back to connection with each other.
Mm-hmm.
That ignites my soul, but also connection back to themselves. What is it about you that makes you you? I think that in order for us to connect bravely with others, we need to connect bravely with ourselves first. And so those two things, connection with self, connection with others, just lights me up.
And you can see it. You can see it in all your work. And I love your philosophy. I mean, you've done some extraordinary things, and now you're shifting to focus in your own backyard, your community. I think so many times we think of going so big in our initiative that sometimes we forget the impact we can have right in our own community. Can you speak to that? What made you shift into that focus?
Honestly, just an opportunity. I think sometimes opportunities come by our path and we can ignore them, or we can move into them. And I had an opportunity to rent a space in my own community. And I thought to myself, well, hey, 25 years of belonging creates resilience work. Now I could, instead of putting it out there in a more virtual world, in a more visiting somewhere else, flying places and coming home, now I could actually do this in my neighborhood and see if I'm right, see if these things actually work. And it has been so beautiful, bringing people together. How do we create resilience and a community that feels connected, especially in our world right now where communities aren't connected? We don't know our neighbors. We don't trust. There's a lot of division. Just bringing the opposite and how that can alleviate things like poverty and how that can alleviate mental health issues, and just starting to see, even not even a year in, but seeing that this really does have a profound impact.
Profound impact. Yes. Yes, Connie, 100%. And you're leading that. I love that you said, we need to be connected to ourselves first before we can connect to others. And you're a huge mental health advocate and this connection and belonging specialist. And I really admire your work. Talk to me about what you see in people when you introduce them to the idea of connecting to themselves first.
I think a lot of people don't really know who they are. We've known what we've needed to do in order to function. I'm a mom, so I could identify as a mom, but what am I beyond that? What am I beyond my abilities? What am I beyond all of these things? And how does belonging get created for us? Oftentimes, we'll walk into a room and we expect the group to create belonging for us. But I find that that's pretty faulty because people are human, and we walk into rooms and people do all kinds of weird things. They'll look at me different. They'll say something that puts someone off. And so I have this concept that I used to think that belonging was created by the group, but I actually more and more now believe that belonging is created inside of us first. So then we show up to the room not expecting that from others to create that. Here, you define me, you tell me who I am. But I'm coming into a room saying, this is who I am, and I'm here to offer you my strength, and I'm here now. I can see you. I'm not expecting for you to see me. But when I come in without that expectation on others, I end up being seen more than if I expect it from others to do that. It's not something that I think people can do. I think it's a lot of responsibility for others to define us rather than we define us and then show up.
I really, really appreciate that comment. And I think there's so much distraction, there's so much noise in our everyday lives that sometimes we forget to be intentional on how we show up, myself included. I can be the mom, the business owner, running from all the things, doing all the things. Then you show up, you're like, I just need a minute to myself. But that's how you connect to people, right? The energy you bring. And I always say that your energy is your highest currency, and how you show up is what shows up for you. And when we are grounded and connected to ourself, and I think beyond ourself, it's our meaning, it's our vision, it's our values, it's our purpose, it's our passion. We give other people permission to do the same. And I was just on a soccer tournament with my youngest son, group of moms. We all knew each other, but not like really knew each other, And we had a riot. We were in one of the rooms, we were putting on makeup, we were laughing, we went shopping, we did a little fashion show. And it was the art of being vulnerable in all of us. We were vulnerable about different things, some of it, our makeup, how we show up, our time, how do you balance being a mom and a full-time worker, and all of these vulnerabilities. And I always believe this is so true, is that we are more similar than we are different, but we don't talk about the insecurities and, the longing to belong. And you are a belonging expert. Talk to me about what you notice when you're going into a group and everybody has the desire to belong. And if you are connected to yourself, you have a higher chance to connect to others. But talk to me really about what belonging means and how do we foster that?
When it comes to belonging, I think knowing that we are more similar than we think, I think that really does create a foundation.
Mm.
Sometimes we think that to belong means everyone needs to agree with me, or I need to agree with everyone. Right now, I'm working in a community with a particular group of people who all come from trauma. And you think that trauma would unite them, but trauma doesn't unite them. Trauma seems to divide them. They have a lot of triggers. It's like that person said this and that triggered me and I didn't like that. And so I think belonging is when we can all go on that brave journey on our own healing, and whatever that looks like. Whatever that looks like. If I need to get support in that, if I need to journal, but doing that, I call it cultivating the garden of my heart. If I'm doing that on the daily, and then showing up to a group, not expecting them to do my work for me,
Yes.
but then also being okay to wherever someone else is at. If they've had trauma and I don't get it, just to seek to understand, seek to be curious. I have a little rule in the communities that I create and the gatherings. It's like, you get to be you and I get to be me. And so I'm not going to try to change you. I'm not going to try to tell you to tone yourself down or speak up more. You are in the driver's seat of your experience here, and so am I. And I think that has really allowed the disarming, because self-preservation is what we all do when we feel on alert. And self-preservation doesn't allow us to connect with someone else. If I'm constantly scrutinizing the room, wondering if women are wondering if I'm dressed okay, or, if I'm speaking all right, or like those things divide us. They disconnect us rather than connect us. And so just really allowing for others to be where they are, for me to be where I am. And if something triggers me or heightens me, to maybe get curious about what is creating that in me. That person didn't create that in me. That was already there. It just got brought up, and now I have an opportunity to look at it.
That's really beautiful and profound in a way that you give everyone permission to be themselves at the beginning. It removes the judgment, it removes some of the fear and lets everyone exhale, right? To go, okay, thank you for setting the tone. Thank you for setting the space. Thank you for validating what is, because we all compare and contrast ourselves to everybody. We're quick to judge, we're quick to make assumptions. And when there is trauma and when there's even not trauma, we all can get triggered in different areas. So that's really profound. In my book, I talk about the idea that the book is not a how-to book, but it's a permission to be book, because I believe that we all just need that reassurance that we are enough, and it's a permission to be who we choose to be. When you're talking to, let's say, adults and teachers, and you're talking about the idea of bringing them closer when we're talking about mental health struggles, let's say, what are some of the biggest mindset shifts around bringing people closer when maybe our natural tendency is, if we're overwhelmed or our child, has a meltdown, that we push them away instead of bringing them closer? Can you speak to me on that from an adult perspective and a youth perspective?
Yeah, so in my Bravely Connected method, I share a two-step process that has helped me. I created this based on some theories around thoughts, emotions, and behaviors and how they all interact with each other. And just how could I bring my boys closer, or how could I notice behavior and not judge it? And so I call it the attune in process and the attune out process. And it's just a series of 3 questions when I tune in. So, say I'm faced with a behavior that's kind of like, whoa, that's a lot for me, or just something that is a lot for me in a human interaction. I'll ask myself, what's my resting emotion right now? And so that could
Mm,
be overwhelm, it could be annoyance, it could be whatever it is. And then if that emotion was a sentence, what is it saying? So if I'm annoyed by something, it's like, well, I wish they would stop that. I'm naming the sentence, I'm naming my subconscious, because that's what's dictating then my behavior, which might be to get edgy with them or sarcastic or send them away. And the more self aware I can be through these 3 questions of what's my emotion, what's the thought, or what's the sentence it's saying? And now, how am I responding? What's my behavior? And doing that all without judgment, it's just allowing me to be self aware. And now I'm more in control of my inner world. The attune out is watching them and just reversing it. So it's, what behavior am I noticing? So maybe they are being disruptive in class, which isn't unheard of these
yeah,
days. Or,
no big deal.
or when we were in school, I don't know about you, Cara, but I was a disruptor. I'm getting paid back. That's what's
There you
happening.
go.
So what behavior is there? Well, maybe there's disruption. Well, so now I'm going to move from my limbic system of my brain to my prefrontal cortex,
Yes.
where I can connect through empathy. So this is a formula for empathy, because I found a lot of people say be empathetic, that opens things up, but a lot of people don't know how to access empathy. And so this was my way to access it. So what behavior am I noticing? Now, what could they be thinking? I'll never know what they actually are thinking, but this is for me. This is me taking my very best guess. And it's allowing me to go from, man, they're just being so annoying, to, oh, maybe this is a self protection mechanism. Maybe they're feeling, I don't feel safe here. So now I'm more empathetic. And then if I can take one step further, what emotion is attached to that? So the annoyance, I don't feel safe here. Maybe the underlying emotion is anxiety or shame. And now I'm going to connect with them on emotion rather than behavior. And I find that when we try to connect on a behavior level with anybody, we end up disconnecting and belonging is disrupted. Whereas when we connect on an emotional level, belonging is just a byproduct, and people feel understood and they're disarmed, and we create connection.
That's really beautiful. I think, Connie, you've always seen people in the dance world. I really admired you, how you would work with youth at risk, and you saw them, right? There was no judgment, and you could connect to them at a very emotional level of just being in their presence. And I think that's a beautiful quality that you have, is presence. And I think it comes from the ability to understand people, to belong, and to meet people where they're at. How do we do that better, to meet people where they're at?
I've noticed that the more comfortable I've gotten with all of the emotions that I think are bad in me,
Mm,
I've been okay with wherever somebody else is at.
mm,
When I haven't been okay or acknowledged the hard stuff inside of me, like anger, shame, embarrassment, the things that I would want to normally shove away, when they show up in a room or in somebody else, I want to shove not just the emotion away, I want to shove them away because they're
mm.
uncomfortable now. And so I do feel that there is this comfort, ability to connect when we start to notice the great stuff in us, as well
Mhm.
as the shadow crevices, and just allow us to be fully human. Then we're able to accept that in someone else.
So, where do we start when we're feeling not good enough and we apply for a job and we're going through the interview process and we're not feeling ready and we're second guessing and we're going through, all of these limiting beliefs? How do we get back into our body and really sit in that so that we can move forward and we can make change in our life?
Oh boy, you're talking about me just in December. So just to give a little story about where this is going to come from is I took a shift and I took action on something I felt I wanted to do, but it has impacted my finances. And constantly living in this like, oh no, there's not enough. Oh no, how will we fund this? Oh no, how will this work? And then applying for jobs and under like realizing even though I know the CEOs of these companies, I couldn't get the job, which then brought me low, which brought me to a place of I am not enough. Oh no, I'm 50 years old and I'm like, I can't get a job. Like, what kind of low life am I? And what brought me out was I was realizing that this whole concept of I'm not enough really reveals, at least to me, I'm not going to put this on anybody else, but for me, it was revealing that I see the world through a limited lens. I don't see abundance and opportunity. I naturally lean towards this is not going to work. This is not enough. Therefore, I am not enough. Instead of seeing myself and everything that's been brought to me as there is more than enough out there. There's so much opportunity. There's so much abundance. There's so much money. There's funding. There's creative solutions. And as soon as I can tap into that kind of a mindset, things shifted for me. I,
Yes.
I came out of the not feeling enough, and now I'm noticing things are swimming towards me.
Yes.
But when I was in that place of everything's just awful, nothing was coming to me. Or if it
Yeah.
did, I probably just couldn't see it.
It's so true that managing our mindset is everything, right? Managing, do we have abundance? Yes, there's going to be challenges, but how do we tap into the greatest potential? How do we, just like you said, they're swimming towards you. You're attracting opportunities towards you rather than pushing or trying so hard. It's flowing to you. When we manage our mindset, we really understand, what was holding you back, being able to articulate, I am seeing this with lack of resources, lack of abundance, and then shifting into possibility, everything seems to open up. What do you think gets in people's way when we're talking about managing their mindset? So you just went through this, and another listener might be applying for a job, feeling not ready, feeling defeated. What really gets in our way when we're trying to make change?
So I'm going to speak from my own experience, but I do feel like it's a common human flaw that we all have, that we instantly go inward. I went inward. I went into my own mind and I focused just on my own limitations. Whereas I think that when we become others focused, focused on contribution, focused on the world outside of me. So in me, I am limited. I have certain neural pathways that have fired together. I have certain knowledge. But when I see the world as a huge oyster,
Yeah.
And there's knowledge to be had. Anything that I don't know, I can learn. Anything that I don't have, people are our greatest resource. I'm not my greatest resource. People are. I can learn, I can glean, I can reach out to someone like you. We have all kinds of resources at our fingertips.
Yes.
And so getting out of this little prison right here of myself and going, wait a second, there are books and people and podcasts and all kinds of things, and there's needs. I find for me that when I get stuck inside my own head, I go and figure out who can I encourage, who can I serve, how can I give. I do the opposite. And I notice that it shifts something in my mindset. If I just sit here and chant like I am enough, I am enough, I don't know, for some reason that just doesn't click with me. But as soon as I say the affirmations and I do my own inner work, but then I get out there and I go bless somebody else, I find that it just kicks me in the butt and moves me away from my own inner victim.
Yes, yes. And it's true, right? Our mind is wired for a negative bias. So we have to work extra hard for a positive. And neuroscience will suggest that we have more fear and reaction to losing than we do to gaining. So naturally we're scared. And if, for example, if you lost $50, it would bother you more and you would have more of a reaction in your body than if you found $50. And it's crazy that, anytime we step into anything new, we are negatively, we have this anchor of like all the things that can go wrong and we're not enough. And if we can switch into being a blessing, serving other people, we tap into gratitude and a different part of our mind is working. And it is kind of at a vibrational level that we start seeing movement and momentum. Connie, talk to me about, your biggest freaking change you've made and how it's impacted you.
Well, I just not too long ago left a really great job, benefits, steady pay, doing things that I loved to do what I'm doing right now, which is investing in my own community, investing in my own community school, and having no idea where the funds were going to come to do all of this. And so that has been the biggest
Yes.
change.
Yes, yes. And that's massive. And occupational change is such a profound moment for most people because it gives us, it's not just a job, it's our sense of security, it's our sense of identity. And when we make a shift or a change in one area, it always shows up in other areas of our life. So now that you've crossed over and you've made this big change and you're starting to see things come together, what would be your best advice you could offer someone when they're considering making a significant change, a big freaking change, and they don't feel ready?
Well, this is where I love your message. You
Hmm.
just got to get out there and you just got to try. You just got to take one baby step. Just do it.
Yeah.
I find everything that I've done, whether it's writing a book, producing theater, doing this work that I'm doing now, people have to see it to buy in.
Yeah.
So I've never had a time in business or any nonprofit work or any kind of work that I've done where I haven't had to test it, try it, do it first, and then people come to it rather than, okay, I'm going to get it all perfect in my head and it's going to be a beautiful blueprint on my on my computer and then people are going to buy into it and then I'm going to do it. Oh no, I have found the direct opposite. I have to
Yeah.
do it and then people buy into it, which is risk. It's risk to
Yeah.
put yourself out there. But in my experience, that's kind of what we've had to do. And that's why I love your message because it
Mm.
really is just about just do something. And it
Yes.
doesn't have to be big. It can just
Yeah.
be a little beta. Try something and see who comes to it and then perfect it as you go.
Yes. And I think that's such a message that every, even entrepreneur, especially have to learn over and over again. Anyone that's wanting to make a significant change is we often want to make it perfect. And that will allow us to stay stuck and prevent us from making change. And we go into procrastination. And I call it the procrastination and perfectionism loop that we're just stuck in. And it's the same coin, it's different sides of the same coin. And we just got to acknowledge it. And if people really knew that everybody does it scared and that nobody really feels ready. I talk about being prepared as one thing. And it's different from feeling ready, because readiness is a state of being that comes after you take action and not before. Connie, talk to me about mental health. And we're shifting gears just a little bit about how can we as a society make change towards embracing mental health challenges? How do we show up on a community level? And what are some things that we can all be aware of so that we can make a significant change as a community to talk about it, to ask for help, to say, I'm not okay? I mean, we've come so far, but we still have a far distance to go.
Yeah, we sure do. So I work in something called interpersonal neurobiology, how attunement rewires the brain.
Mm,
And I feel like in our mental health conversations, a lot of it is based around medication and counseling, which I'm all for, but I
yes.
call that around the 20%. That's the 20%. When I go on a diet and I go to the gym, I think that maybe all those squats are going to make all the difference in the world, but actually it's what I put in my mouth that's going to make all the difference in the world. It's the 80%, and then the gym is the 20%. And it's the same thing with, say, medication and counseling and the individual work. It's 20%. 80% of our mental health is created socially. And so I feel the opportunity right now is to understand that nothing's written in stone and that we can rewire one another's brains simply by creating spaces where we listen and attune to one another. I think that the opportunity for gatherings where people's stories can be heard, I think will do a tremendous amount of change. I started a free dance class in my community. And so we, did the dance class, but at the end, we always have a sharing circle. And we're rewiring people's brains as we go around the circle and just say, hey, like, what's going on in your world right now? And people are sharing and people are listening and people are being supported. I feel that is our opportunity right now, is how do we create spaces where people's stories can be heard?
And to be witnessed, right? Like part of it is we live in our own story, and just even having someone witness it, the good, the bad. It doesn't always have to be bad, but to celebrate and to just be a presence for someone else boosts our confidence and realizes, man, we all have challenges. We all have fear. We all have things that get in our way. So that's really powerful. Connie, talk to me about how you define courage. Because I talk about we don't need confidence. Confidence comes through taking action, but we need to flex our courage muscle to make change. So, talk to me about what courage means and how do we access it?
Well, it might be very similar to your definition, which is do it freaking afraid.
Yes. Yes.
It really does come. Courage doesn't come before the action. I feel like it comes kind of during and after. And
Yes.
it's something that gets deposited when I step out. I feel like I'm going to pee my pants, but I do it anyways. And then I get this beautiful deposit of courage that no one can ever rob me of. Like no one can
Yes.
steal that, because now it's a part of me, because I showed up when it was hard. I did something that was challenging. I stepped outside my comfort zone. I didn't die. And now I'm reaping a courage reward.
That's very powerful. And how would you define confidence?
I almost wonder, this is a great question, because I wonder if confidence is the byproduct of
Mhm.
stepping out when we're afraid, getting that courage deposit, and then that's now a byproduct.
That's what I believe. I believe it's a result for taking action. And I love how you said, it's a deposit. I think I'm going to make reference to that and say your name every time I say it, because it is. It is that deposit into self, right? That, people can tell you do the thing or you're ready and, you just got to go for it and you still have this fear, but it's up to you to make the change. And once you make it, you get that deposit back into self. And you're right. Nobody can take it away from you. And it turns into character building. It turns into, it sets almost the row of dominoes in motion, that a habit and momentum creates more habits and more momentum. And the more risk we take, whether it's positive or negative, the rewards are learning or confidence always. You're going to learn and you learn to trust yourself. I think that's the beauty of confidence, is it's really the ability to trust yourself. And I know you've gone through many different changes in your career, and now you're doing home renovations and you're really talking about renovating the home, and it's such a beautiful concept. I'd love for you to speak a little bit about how the environment really plays into our life and our output.
Yeah, I love what my husband says. He says colors make moods.
Yeah.
And so like a physical space matters.
Yes.
but emotional space, so those two go together. You can have a beautiful physical home, physical environment, and have it void of human connection. And that's why I
Mm,
think that this whole idea of renovating a home, not just physically, but emotionally and relationally, really matters.
yes.
Because the environment shapes us so much in the way we think and the experiences of our life and how we're showing up in the world. And so I do believe that, if I can have some nice calm colors on the wall or colors that make my family and I feel alive, and then if there's
Yeah.
emotional health in that home too, then I think that it's a start.
Yeah. That's beautiful work. So Connie, where can everybody find you? All of the things, list the websites. I know you have books. Share all the gold. We'll put it in our notes too, but I want people to be able to find you, to follow you, to buy your book, and to really take advantage of you because you're just this amazing soul. You connect, you give, you have great presence, and the work you do really matters and is shifting the world. So where can we find you?
Thanks so much, Cara. Honestly, ConnieJakab.com is the best place. My last name is spelt weird. It's Jakab. And then that's also all my social handles. I've just made it easy. Connie Jakab.
Perfect. Well, we will make sure we follow you. And Connie, I just want to thank you for being an advocate for so many people, creating safe places, bringing people closer, talking about hard things like mental health. And now with your refurnishing of homes and really the health and wealth of a family is just beautiful work. So thank you for being on our show. And to all of our listeners, remember to make your big freaking change. You're not going to feel ready. As Connie said, you're going to make a deposit when you flex your courage muscle. And it's something that will carry you and move beyond the change that you're making. And everything is connected. We all have insecurities, and it's in dealing with that, embracing it, and stepping into the next version of ourselves with fear that we are able to make a movement, make an impact, and create our lives that we crave. So thank you, everyone. Make your big freaking change. And Connie, thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode and would be so grateful if you could share it with someone else that could benefit from it. Let's remember to change our relationship to change itself and take aligned action. If we want to make meaningful changes in our lives, we need to embrace stepping into the next version of ourselves in the process. Remember, stop waiting to feel ready and start taking action today.